Today we're making what Norwegians call the world's best cake, and we'll start by separating 3 eggs for the custard. In 2002, Norway came together and voted on their best dessert ever, and this one took the crown. And I have to say, once you try it, you'll see they got it exactly right. So I'm about to show you how to make the whole thing from scratch. All right, to those yolks we separated, we're going to add 1/2 cup of sugar, 1/3 cup of cornstarch, and a tiny pinch of salt. Whisk all of those together to combine. It will start off looking a little thick at first, but don't worry, it'll come together and smooth right out into a silky paste as you keep whisking. Next, start warming up 2 cups of milk in a saucepan until they are steaming, not boiling. We're going to be mixing the milk into the yolks, but this is where a lot of mess-ups happen. Don't go pouring all that hot milk into the egg mixture at once. Instead, start by adding it slowly into the mixture while whisking the whole time. When you're done mixing, pour it right back into the saucepan. Then place it on the stove and turn the heat to around medium. Make sure to whisk constantly. At first, it'll seem like nothing is happening, but then all of a sudden, the magic happens and the mixture starts thickening up. Once it starts bubbling, keep it going for another minute or 2 because you want to fully activate the cornstarch so the custard doesn't end up tasting chalky. Take it off the heat and stir in the vanilla. Then move the custard to a clean bowl and let it cool before cling wrapping it right onto the surface. Okay, so what I mean by that is not just over the bowl. Instead, the wrap needs to actually be touching the custard, which is what keeps the skin from forming on top. When done, pop it in the fridge till it's completely cold. While the custard does its thing, go ahead and set your oven to 320 degrees Fahrenheit. Line a sheet pan with parchment paper. You can really use any pan you like, but keep it on the smaller side. A 1/4 sheet pan is perfect. Now for the cake layer. In a bowl, you're going to combine the butter, which needs to be softened, plus a 1/4 cup of sugar. Beat the 2 together till the mixture looks creamy and smooth. Next, separate 4 more eggs. You really want room temperature eggs here, so try not to reach for the fridge for this step. The separated yolks are for the batter, while the whites are for the meringue, so set those aside in a clean bowl. Mix our newly cracked yolks into the butter one at a time, and let each one fully blend in before you add the next. This keeps the mixture from splitting like I mentioned above. Add 3½ tablespoons of milk, and just like the eggs, make sure it's room temperature. Because cold milk can make the butter seize up, and we want this batter to be nice and smooth, not lumpy. In another bowl, combine 1 1/4 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a little pinch of salt. Give them a quick whisk so that baking powder and salt get evenly distributed. Now, sift that flour mix right into the butter mixture in small portions. Adding it in stages just makes it easier to fold the flour in evenly. At this point, I'd recommend switching to a spatula and mixing just until the flour disappears. It's important that you don't try to make this fluffy or overwork it. Next, spread this batter onto the parchment paper-lined sheet pan in a thin, even rectangle. It's going to look like there isn't enough batter, but I'm going to hold your hand and tell you that it's exactly what we want. The height of this cake comes from the meringue and the cream, not from a thick sponge. Remember those 4 egg whites we set aside for the meringue? Take them and add a pinch of salt and a teaspoon of lemon juice. Take your mixer and start mixing on low until the whites start to look foamy, almost like little soap bubbles. Then bump it up to medium speed and start adding 1 cup of sugar slowly. A spoonful at a time is your safest bet. Keep beating and, near the end, add a teaspoon of vanilla. You'll know you're done when your meringue turns thick, glossy, and holds stiff peaks. Basically, when you lift the whisk, that peak should stand straight up without collapsing. Spoon the meringue right over the raw cake batter. Spread it gently all the way to the edges, but don't try to flatten it. Instead, use your spatula to make loose waves and little peaks across the top. Those uneven peaks are actually exactly what we want, because they're going to bake up nice and crisp in the oven. Now scatter half a cup to a cup of sliced almonds or chopped pecans, depending on what you have on hand, generously over the top. This is a big part of what makes this cake so good. Once done, we move on to baking. Put your pan in the oven for about 30 minutes. Now, I personally like to put the pan in the lower third of the oven so the meringue has time to dry out without burning on top. The top should look delicate but not wet. But the part that most people mess up is not cutting the cake. Yep, as soon as it comes out of the oven, grab a sharp knife and cut the sheet into 2 equal rectangular halves. Don't wait for it to cool, because you get a way cleaner cut right then, while that cake is still warm and soft. After baking, just leave both halves to cool completely while we move on to making our Diplomat cream. Pour 1 cup of cold, heavy cream into a clean bowl and add a tablespoon of sugar. Pull out your mixer and whip it to form soft peaks, not stiff and grainy. These fall over slightly in comparison to stiff ones. Now take the chilled custard and beat it briefly till it's smooth again. I used a blender for this, but you can use the same mixer you used for the cream. Take the whipped cream and fold it into the custard with a spatula. And fold it in a little at a time, not all at once. Use gentle, bottom-up folds to keep that cream light and airy. Just try not to eat it all before it makes it into the cake. I'm serious because it's that good. Finally, here comes the fun part, assembling the cake. Place the first half of the cake on your serving plate and spread all of that newly made Diplomat cream over it in an even layer. If you're loving this tutorial so far, a like and share would really help me out. Back to the recipe. Place the second half of the cake right on top of our previous layer. To finish assembly, spread a thin layer of cream around the sides. At this point, it's just a test of patience. The cake just needs a little time to firm up. So once it's all chilled, cut straight down into it. You'll hear the top crackle a little as you go, and the rest gives way smoothly under the knife. And there they are, crisp, creamy, beautiful layers. Hard to argue with Norway on this one. And if you're craving a slice, give it a like. See you next time!